Picture the night sky over the Persian Gulf, illuminated not by stars, but by the fiery streaks of interceptor missiles screaming into the darkness. Just 5 days ago, an American and Israeli bombing campaign against Iran ignited a massive synchronized storm of drones and ballistic missiles from Tehran. Now, picture the skies over Kyiv, Ukraine, cold, dark, and waiting. In a brutal twist of geopolitical irony, the exact same defensive munitions burning through the skies over the Middle East right now are the ones Ukraine desperately needs to survive the relentless Russian onslaught. Welcome to a terrifying zero-sum game of global survival. Today, we are breaking down how a sudden firestorm in the Middle East has completely frozen peace talks with Moscow, leaving Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky staring down a catastrophic drought in military hardware. The vault is emptying. High-stakes trilateral negotiations scheduled for this very week in the UAE completely derailed because the UAE itself is dodging Iranian munitions. The survival of Eastern Europe is suddenly tethered to a desert conflict thousands of miles away. How did we get to a point where Washington and Brussels are forced to choose which ally gets to keep the lights on? Stick around as we dissect this unprecedented geopolitical chain reaction. And if you want to stay ahead of these rapidly shifting global crises, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and drop a comment down below with your thoughts on who loses the most in this scenario. The stakes have never been higher. 4 years into Russia's invasion, the ultimate lifeline for Ukraine is drying up, and a weakened hand at the negotiation table is exactly what the Kremlin has been waiting for. Let's dive into the timeline. The shockwaves of a sudden Middle Eastern firestorm are crashing straight into the heart of Eastern Europe. And for Ukraine, the timing is nothing short of disastrous. Based on the latest reporting by Cassandra Vinograd, today we are breaking down a geopolitical chain reaction that has completely frozen peace talks with Moscow and triggered a massive wave of anxiety in Kyiv over a sudden, terrifying drought in military hardware. Let's look at the timeline. Exactly 5 days ago, American and Israeli forces initiated a bombing campaign against Iran. The blowback was immediate and widespread. Tehran retaliated by unleashing a storm of drones and missiles aimed squarely at American allies across the Persian Gulf. To survive the barrage, those Gulf nations, along with U.S. forces operating in the region, have been forced to burn through a staggering stockpile of interceptor missiles just to keep the skies clear. And here is the brutal irony of modern warfare. Those are the exact same defensive munitions Ukraine desperately relies on from its Western allies to survive the relentless Russian onslaught. The vault is emptying, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky knows it. He's already sounding the alarm to his partners, bracing for the inevitable ripple effect. Speaking to Italy's RAI network this Wednesday, Zelensky laid his cards on the table. If this Middle East crisis drags out into a prolonged war, Washington's critical pipeline of air defense systems and missiles to Kyiv could rapidly dry up. The European Union sees the exact same writing on the wall. Kaja Kallas, the EU's top diplomat, didn't mince words in Brussels on Thursday. She confirmed that the gravity of the Middle Eastern escalation is directly draining resources from Ukraine's war effort. It's a ruthless, zero-sum game of supply chains. The advanced defense capabilities Kyiv requires to keep the lights on are now being diverted to the sands of the Middle East. Why does this matter so much? Because without an impenetrable air defense shield, Ukrainian towns and cities are sitting ducks. A shortfall doesn't just invite the Kremlin to ramp up its aerial bombardments. It completely guts Kyiv's leverage. You can't dictate terms of peace when your shield is cracking. And a weakened hand is exactly what Moscow wants to see when negotiations finally resume. And speaking of those peace talks, they are officially on ice. High-stakes trilateral negotiations involving the United States, Ukraine, and Russia were scheduled to go down this week in the United Arab Emirates. The problem? The UAE is currently dodging Iranian munitions. Zelensky scrambled, pitching Switzerland or Turkey as alternative diplomatic venues. but in his late-night address on Wednesday, he delivered the ultimate reality check. Thanks to the chaos radiating from Iran, the necessary diplomatic signals for that trilateral summit simply haven't arrived. He assured the public that Ukraine remains totally ready to talk the second the security environment and political climate stabilize. But right now, the world's attention is fractured. Now, 4 brutal years into Russia's invasion, the overwhelming challenge for Zelensky and his European backers is keeping the international spotlight locked on Ukraine while the Gulf erupts. Enter the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. Standing fresh from a White House press conference this week, Merz publicly and explicitly pressed President Trump to see the global chessboard as one unified battlefield, directly linking the crisis in Iran to the trench warfare in Ukraine. His message was unapologetically blunt. Anyone championing security and justice in the Middle East has an absolute obligation to secure those exact same values in Europe. Zelensky is pushing that identical narrative, relentlessly highlighting the deep strategic ties between Moscow and Tehran. And he's backing it up with a rather brilliant tactical pivot. Over the last few days, he's been on the phone with various Middle Eastern leaders, offering to export Ukraine's hard-fought expertise in neutralizing drone swarms. After years of fending off Iranian-designed Shahed drones, weapons that Russia launches by the dozens every single night, including a staggering 155 of them just this Thursday morning, Ukraine possesses world-class, blood-earned knowledge. They know how to shoot these things out of the sky better than anyone else on the planet. Now, the tables have turned. Zelensky confirmed that several partner nations, including the United States, have explicitly asked Kyiv for direct tactical assistance to combat these incoming drones. The Ukrainian president announced on social media Thursday that he has already issued orders to deploy Ukrainian specialists and necessary hardware to secure allied airspace. As he put it, Ukraine steps up for the partners who secure our safety. But make no mistake, this isn't just charity, it's high-level leverage. Ukraine currently mass produces highly effective, low-cost interceptor drones specifically built to hunt Shaheds. Zelensky's pitch? A strategic trade. We give you our specialized interceptors, and you hand over the heavy-duty Patriot missile batteries we so desperately need to stop Russian ballistics. It's a transactional masterclass. Zelensky made it perfectly clear. Kyiv will export its defensive assistance, but only on the absolute condition that it doesn't weaken their own domestic shield, serving instead as a concrete investment in their diplomatic power. They will help shield from war those who help Ukraine bring its own war to a dignified, victorious conclusion. Crucial on-the-ground reporting for this developing geopolitical shift was contributed by Gina Smilek in Brussels and Natalia Novosiolova in Kyiv. The fallout from this dual-front crisis is reshaping the global world order right before our eyes. The stakes for Ukraine couldn't be more existential. Without an impenetrable air defense shield, not only do their cities become sitting ducks for Moscow's aerial bombardments, but their entire diplomatic leverage evaporates. As German Chancellor Friedrich Merz warned from the White House, you cannot champion security in the Middle East while letting it crumble in Europe. Yet we are witnessing a ruthless reality of modern warfare. Supply chains are finite. If this Middle Eastern escalation drags on into a prolonged regional war, the United States and Europe will face an impossible choice, potentially starving Kyiv's defenses to protect Gulf allies. Conversely, if Zelensky's brilliant tactical pivot works, trading Ukraine's battle-tested interceptor drones for heavy-duty Patriot missile batteries, Kyiv might just secure its skies and establish a powerful new paradigm of defensive diplomacy. But the tension remains razor-thin. We are looking at two vastly different futures. One where Ukraine secures the hardware to dictate peace terms from a position of strength, and another where a fractured international focus hands the Kremlin exactly the weakened adversary it desires. The geopolitical chessboard is fully active, the missiles are in the air, and the next move could permanently decide the fate of two distinct regions fighting for their lives. What do you think will happen next? Will Ukraine's bold drone trade strategy actually pay off, or will the Middle Eastern conflict completely drain their critical defense pipeline? Drop your strategic predictions in the comments below. Don't forget to smash the like button, share this video, and subscribe for more deep dive geopolitical analysis.